McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City. Talk a little high school sports. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you today?
Pretty good, man. We ran a little long there with your buddy O'Kane, so we'll have to keep it short here today.
A lot of good wrestling talk, I'm sure. A couple of grappling references never heard at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
There you go. Hey, it's Saturday quads, man. That's what it's all about.
There you go. Exactly.
Mike, before we get into some hoops, wanted to talk a little football in the story you had in today's paper about this sort of new proposal for state championships. Give us a little more insight into that.
Well, again, it's kind of a proposal that's kind of in the infancy stages right now, just being introduced to leagues and teams around the state. A proposal that would, create a North and South Jersey for public schools, change the enrollment sections up to 7, and, increase the number of teams that make the playoffs. I think the key, there are two key things, a couple key things in the proposal is, one, it preserves Thanksgiving Day rivalries. 2, it puts more teams in the playoffs. And 3, if it does go through, and it would probably take effect for the 2018 season if it did, you'd be one step away from having a true state championship in football. And I think there's a devoted, passionate group of high school football coaches and administrators who want to see that happen. And so far, they just haven't been able to get it done for a variety of reasons. But this would be another step towards that, and that would probably be the ultimate goal for these people that are putting this plan in place.
So, Mike, in the simplest terms, this takes it from sectionals to groups. Is that right?
Well, no, you're still in sections, but right now there's 4 sections around the state. It would take it from 4 sections down to 2 sections. Okay. Right now you have 4 sections with 5 groups each. You'd have 2 sections with 7 groups each. And you'd go from 8 teams in each section making the playoffs to 16 teams making the playoffs. So I guess the argument for the proposal is it increases the amount of teams that are in the playoffs, but it also makes it tougher to win a sectional title because you're enlarging the geographical area per section.
Gotcha. Okay. What's your personal thought? Would you like to see it expanded more and kind of whittled down into more of true champions?
Well, I mean, I think the positives and negatives to every proposal. I mean, this section would lead to some really interesting games and matchups. You'd have teams from the Shore Conference matched against teams from South Jersey. You could see a Timber Creek, Middletown South matchup, that sort of thing like that. So it would lead to some sort of better games and more interesting games. I think it's something worth looking at. There are issues with every proposal, but I do think right now the complaint is that the sectional system where you have 5 champions in 4 sections does water it down a little bit. So now you'd have maybe the prestige of winning a sectional title would be more, and that would probably be a good thing. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It would mean starting the season earlier, which might be fun. It preserves Thanksgiving. I mean, it does a lot of good things. We'll have to see how it plays out. I know people are concerned. What are those 1 versus 16 games going to be like in the playoffs? 2 versus 15, 3
right.
versus 14. Are they going to be lopsided? Are they going to be non-competitive? I think that's going to be the biggest holdup with this plan.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe they could do something like where the 8 through 16 teams play off for a week, and then you kind of whittle it down to 12 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now a lot is on the table. I think they've introduced it to the leagues. I know the Cape Atlantic League athletic directors and principals and administrators are going to discuss the plan at their Tuesday meeting this week coming up. There's a lot of time left. This wouldn't take effect until 2018. So I think there's a lot of, there's a lot to digest with this plan. There's a lot of pros, there's some cons, and I think they've all got plenty of time to sort of digest it. And I think that's one of the things that the Cape Atlantic League guys like about it is, they have, you have at least, 6 months now to sort of, or the rest of this year to sort of look at the plan and tweak it and see what you like about it. It's not being, thrust upon you at the last second.
Yeah, because that's a great point you make up with the 1 versus 16. That's going to make for a lot of blowouts, a lot of non-interesting playoff games.
Right. I mean, and especially in the lower groups, the group ones, the twos, the threes. I mean, if you're in a group 7, a group 6, a group 5, those games might be more competitive. Now, people will come back and tell you, well, there's already mechanisms in place. The 35-point running clock in the second half that sort of take care of that situation. Sort of solve that situation yourself. So, but that to me would be the biggest thing that you're kind of looking at is those first-round games, just how competitive are they going to be?
Yeah, I don't know that anybody really wants to see, West Deptford or Timber Creek against a team with, 2 wins, you know what I mean?
Well, the other point that people who favor the proposal say, you'd have 23 teams in each section, so there'd be more teams in each section, so 16 of 23 or 16 of 22 would make the playoffs. You're still eliminating 6 or 7 teams, so their point would be that maybe the matchups would be a little bit more competitive than you think because you're eliminating 6, 7 teams are not making the playoffs.
Right. Talking to Mike McGarry at Press of Atlantic City. Mike, let's talk a little high school basketball, and we're quickly approaching the Cape Atlantic League tournament. When does it actually get kicked off?
That last weekend in February. I know that's that last Saturday, I believe the 28th of the finals at Stockton, and I think it starts that Monday and Tuesday, whatever those dates are. For some reason, the 22nd, 23rd, right around there sort of stick in my head with, you got 8 teams, 8 boys, 8 girls, first-round games, semifinals, and then the finals in Stockton on that Saturday.
So we basically have about 3 weeks to set the field then.
Right. I mean, you're in about a month. I'd say about a month from now, you get started. And you saw things kind of take shape, this week a little bit. Holy Spirit with a big win over Ocean City. You've got some big games coming up this week. You've got Ocean City Mainland girls and boys playing. Those are big national division games right there. You've got Wildwood Catholic and St. Joe boys playing in a big United Division game this week. So you've got kind of games, you see things starting to take shape right now. You see teams starting to separate themselves from the pack and really take a step towards being one of those 8 teams to get in the tournament.
Yeah, and when you talk about boys basketball, it's really become very interesting because at the beginning of the season, we kind of knew St. Augustine and Atlantic City were going to be there as 2 of the top teams, but you start seeing some of these other teams like Mainland, St. Joe, Ocean City really starting to play well. I mean, I was out there at Pleasantville last night, and St. Joe with a real nice win, 1 point over a pretty good Pleasantville team that's hovering around the 500 mark. But those 2 teams are teams that can compete with anybody once they get into that Cal tournament if they both make it.
Right. Well, absolutely. And St. Joe kind of was on a winning streak, had a loss to Shalleck earlier this week, a kind of tough non-conference loss. But they, like you said, they were able to bounce back last night, beat Pleasantville, and that sort of sets them up for a big game with Wildwood Catholic in that United Division this week. And Wildwood Catholic kind of ran into a buzzsaw at St. Augustine, but then they bounced back with a win. So they're able to sort of get back and put themselves in contention in that United Division. And that game, I believe it's Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. The winner of that game will take a step forward towards winning that United Division and clinching one of those 2 berths. You mentioned Mainland kind of rolling along at 10-2 right now, and a big game against Ocean City on Wednesday, and an Ocean City team that might need a win, after they kind of lose by 1 point at Holy Spirit the other night. So, like you said, a lot of big games being played this time of year, and these are the games that kind of, maybe in the past sort of slipped by. They were good games, but, they didn't have as much riding on them before there was a Cape Atlantic League tournament.
Mike, talk about St. Augustine Prep real quick. We saw them score a nice win over Atlantic City last weekend, and it seems like they're starting to get it a little bit. They're starting to figure out how to play without Saeed Nelson and who's going to step up in what roles, and I think they're really starting to understand like they need to bring it every night, and they can't just kind of show up and go through the motions.
Well, I think defensively, I think, we talk about Justin Mutz offensively. We talk about, Austin Kennedy. We talk about Marlon Hargis offensively. But I think the key to St. Augustine is their defensive play. They're long, They're athletic. They get after it. And I think defensively they really played well in a win over Wildwood Catholic. They were up in that game 48-18 in the third quarter. Then they came back and beat Violent. I think they held Violent in 19 points. Any mistakes are kind of erased by Justin Much's shot blocking ability. So I really think that the key to St. Augustine, what you're seeing now, is their ability to play defense. I think that's really what sort of separated them from the pack so far this season.
And, Mike, real quick before we let you go, talk for a minute or so about Gene Allen. He's a couple wins away from 300 at Atlantic City, and what a great career. I mean, you look at his career record, he's won basically 3 out of every 4 games he's coached.
Yeah, I mean, just an outstanding job. 298 career victories after last night's win against Bridgeton. And I had the story in the Press of Atlantic City. You can still get it on our website. Just sort of detailing, how he first sort of fell in love with Atlantic City basketball as a 7-year-old, moving down here from Philadelphia, going to the games, becoming, caught up in the crowd and the atmosphere. And, Atlantic City has won since the 1920s, year in and year out. They've been, one of the, the region's top teams, if not the state's top teams, but they've never won like they have until Allen got there. He's won 3 state titles, the only 3 state titles in the program's history. He's won 6 South Jersey titles. They won 4 South Jersey titles in their history before Allen got there. So he really deserves credit for changing the mentality, turning the mentality around, and really taking a program that had a winning tradition and, somehow make it even better if that was possible. And he certainly, deserves the accolades for doing that.
Hey, if he can hang on for another 20 years, he can turn it over to his son.
His son is right by him at all games, and is probably a burgeoning coach as we speak. So right. You're exactly right.
Good stuff, Mike. Who do you like in tomorrow's NFL games?
I'll take the Patriots and, Patriots-Falcons, I think. I think nice. A lot of Aaron Rodgers stuff, but I just think the Falcons are playing too well right now, and I think it's going to be the Patriots and the Falcons.
Going with Matty Ice. I like it.
There you go. I saw him play in high school against the Mainland Regional, so I'll take it. I'll take him.
There you go. Thanks, as always, Mike. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
All right, no problem. Thanks anytime, Sully.
That was Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City.